Hello, welcome to Miniature Realms. My name is Stuart, and welcome to something that's a little bit of a change of pace from recent videos, I suppose. Insofar as much as that it's not epic Napoleonics, it does still contain strips of plastic, small scale miniatures, I suppose. And I don't know whether that's a theme that's more about me or I don't know. We'll see. But so I was planning on doing this video probably at the start of January, really. I'd planned that back in the back end of last year, maybe even before, but then Napoleonics, in terms of epic, caught up with me, and those of you who have subscribed for a long time will know that the content has changed on the channel in terms of that being a very major focus. Those of you who are new to the channel maybe only come here for that, so you might not be so interested in this. I do cover a wider range of things on the channel, and the plan is always with the channel to cover the things that I'm interested in and I'm doing, as well as doing the videos that people want to see in and around those topics, so to speak. I'm not likely to pick up a game just because someone wants me to do a review on it, unless I'm interested in myself, so to speak. But I do a podcast called Out of the Frying Pan, which is a Middle-earth strategy battle game podcast, so based on Games Workshop's game. There's not much content for that on this channel. It is an audio podcast, and there is a separate sort of YouTube channel for it, which my co-host Dan and I occasionally puts some videos up on there. So I tend to put Middle-earth stuff more there, and I know that most of my subscribers on this channel are here for epic American Civil War, epic Napoleonics, a bit of bold action, that kind of stuff to do with the videos that have attracted them. So I don't tend to stick a lot on there. But anyway, I've talked about wanting to get my hands on the box you see in front of me here, on the podcast and on the channel before, on hobby vlogs and vlogs and things like that. And I was contacted funnily enough, back in November by two people. There's a guy called Jeremy who hosts the Green Dragon podcast in Australia, probably the longest running Middle-earth strategy battle game podcast, and I've been listening to his podcast for a year. We've had a little bit of contact over the time for a number of different things, and he contacted me and said, I've got some Battle of Five Armies stuff, would you like me to send you some? Now, a little bit of context to that. This is worth a lot of money. This is very, very rare, hard to get hold of on eBay, and when you do a complete set, it goes for around £300 or up to. That's often the asking prices. The final value might be a little bit lower, but they can be quite hard to get hold of. So he offered me a set, and I said, well, what do you want for it? And he said, no, just we'll talk about it on a podcast one day. I'll send you a set over. It's not a full box, no terrain and things like that, but I'll be able to send you a copy of the rules and pretty much a complete set of the miniatures. Just pay the postage. So it was amazing, absolutely incredible. Sent it, and then about a week later, I had contact from Gary. So Gary's Rogue Trooper on YouTube. He watches videos, comments on my videos and things, and had a message for him saying that he had a couple of boxes of this kicking around and wanted to know if I was interested. And I sent him a message saying, I've got some on the way, I may well be interested depending on how much you want for it. And he said, no, you can have it, I'm going to bid it. I was like, well, don't bid it, it's worth a lot of money. Have you looked into what you could sell it for, etc, etc? And he wasn't interested in selling it. It was too much hassle. He just wanted to give it to me because he knew that I'd do some videos and things on it. So he agreed to send it, and we sorted it out, and he very, very kindly sent me this box. And in the box originally there were best part of two sets. So two rule books, nearly two complete sets of miniatures, minus a few on the second set, and then I had the stuff coming from Australia from Jeremy as well. So I was, suddenly in a position where I had almost 3 full sets of these, and it was blown away by it all. Really, I felt a little bit too guilty because I haven't really spent any money on it. So I've been giving some away. So I gave a set of rules, and the other half of what Gary gave me to my podcast co-host, so he's got some as well, and we're going to paint up the things and do a bit of a battle. And then the set that Jeremy sent me from Australia, I'm actually going to do a bit of a giveaway on this channel with the podcasts as well, a bit of a joint competition, which we'll talk about in a later date, because I haven't sorted out all the details yet. Anyway, that's a lot of rambling. We're 5 minutes into the video and a lot of rambling, but I wanted to give it some context, and I wanted to just say again publicly how lucky I am to be given these things. Thank you so much to Gary and to Jeremy, just for being so generous, but Gary especially for for sending me 2 lots worth. It's just insane. So anyway, what is this? So this was released in 2005 by Games Workshop. It's a 10mm scale battle in a box set called the Battle of 5 Armies, and based on the large battle at the end of the Hobbit book. So not within the sort of the sort of Lord of the Rings trilogy. So it's the last of the big battle before we have that long gap before we go into the Lord of the Rings stories afterwards. So if you're familiar with Tolkien, you'll know what it is. If you're not, it's the big battle at the end of the 3rd film, if you like them. Some people don't, and it's the big battle at the end of the book. And this is based more around the licensing to do with the book rather than any film licensing. This was done separately from the standard film licensing. Let's flip the box over and we can see what you're supposed to get. Now, this isn't 100% complete. There's the plastic hills, which people may be familiar with for Games Workshop. They aren't here, but I've got everything else. I think even now through one of the sets, I've even got the cardboard river sections and things. So what do we get in the box? Right, so you get your rules manual, and that's based on Warmaster. In fact, it essentially is the Warmaster rules. So those of you who are familiar with Warmaster, it was Games Workshop's small scale fantasy game. It's written by Rick Priestley, as are these rules. So it's essentially, this game is Warmaster but set in the Lord of the Rings world, and it's set in Middle Earth. 9 characters and Bjorn, 24 stands of Goblin infantry, 12 stands of Goblin wolf riders, 12 stands of wargs, 3 stands of men with bows, 3 stands of men with spears, 6 stands of dwarves, 6 stands of elves with bows, 6 stands of elves with spears, 3 stands of eagles. The plastic hills I don't have, but you would normally get that in the box. Plastic ruins, you can see here, some card river sections, and then all your dice and templates and things like that. So it very much is a battle in the box. I think a lot of people at the time when this was released were picking up a couple of sets. This is probably why Gary had a couple of sets. The idea to kind of make a really big battle by doubling it up, and that's what Dan and I will do. So Dan being my co-host on Out of the Frying Pan, I'll paint up. Rather than paint up one side each, we're going to be painting up a set each, essentially. So we've got a self-contained game ourselves, but I will want to expand on this in a later date, so there'll be 2 parts of this project, but I'll talk about that at the end of the video. I thought it's not really an unboxing, but I thought that many people won't be familiar with this or only had a passing interest in it, so I thought I'd go through a bit of the contents and have a little closer look at the miniatures, and then I'll talk about what my plan is for it and how I'm gonna, what we're gonna do on the channel with it. So I've been through and organised this myself. As I said, there's no plastic hills in there, but you do get these river sections, and these are actually sent by Jeremy, and I've kept hold of these because they weren't in the sets that I got. I don't know if I'll use them. I have other terrain, and this cardstock gets a bit shiny, but it might well be useful. Little range rulers that you used to get, I suppose you do still do in some ways, and then your nice rule book, which I'll have a closer look at in a moment. And then you have all your miniatures, so I thought we'll just sort of have a little look at them. Not every single piece, but we'll look at them bag by bag. So we've got a bit of a mix. Some of it's new on sprue, some of it's been clipped off, and over the 3 sets I had, it was in a different state. So this is some of the stuff that's still on sprue. So you can see you've got these little ruin sections, these diddy ruin sections. That one's been clipped off. I thought they're quite cool. It's very easy to get 10mm terrain, but it's nice to have little original bits. And you've got your eagles. You got these are their stands. They do fit on these round stands as well. You got 6 of those. Or 9 is it? 9 of those. Looks like I've got here. Bjorn the bear. Bjorn's been painted brown here, so Bjorn in bear form. And then we've got different heroes. So you got your dwarves there. And so men, we have Dale. You got goblin wolf riders. Other goblins, you've got Gandalf and Bilbo, which is really cool. More dwarves, more men, and it might be elves though, sorry, and more a goblin shaman or something. So they're quite nice 10mm models. They're very much, if you're familiar with Games Workshop's Warmaster range, they're that kind of standard of sculpt. So very, very nicely done. There's good detail on them. I'm going to be, I think they'll paint up very well in the methods I've been using with Xenophil, the method, if you've been following me on this channel, which I imagine most people watching this video will have been, if you've been following the methods I've been using for Epic, ACW and Napoleonics, and that's exactly what we'll be doing with these as well. And these are the different infantry types you get. So we have some wargs, and you have goblins on wargs and warg riders, and they're in these kind of strips the way Warmaster had done, so front and back rank rather than sideways on for the cavalry. And then you have dwarves. So these are really, really nice. It's quite simple sculpts, but also enough detail in there. I think you'll get quite a nice effect with fairly simple painting. That's the plan anyway. I haven't got time to do anything more detailed. Orcs, which again, fantastic. And then you've got 2 lots of humans. So that's not the humans, these are the elves. So the elves with bows. The elves have got the slightly pointed hats and the cloaks. Elves with spears. And now the humans. So humans with spears. So we got men of Dale. And humans with bows. Then lastly you have the rule books. It's a softback rule book. Sorry about the shine. Typical GW affair from the sort of mid-noughties, 96 pages, so around that 100-page mark. You'll recognise the kind of style of the artwork, very familiar with the strategy battle game sort of books of that era in terms of sort of coloration and things. Again, that makes a lot of sense. By Rick Precy, there's a Smaug. There was a range of metal miniatures that were released at the time. They are absolutely ridiculous priced on eBay most of the time at the moment. John, who watches the channel and probably watched this video, actually sent me a message yesterday as I'm recording this, which partly reminded me to record this video, but sent me a message saying, have you seen these on eBay? They're a bargain, and they were a bargain in terms of the cost of miniatures for this, but they were still £25 for essentially 2 stands of elven cavalry, which is just insane. Normally they go for about 50. They're in white metal, all the extras. But standard GW book there tells you how to assemble your frames. So these were already clipped off the frames, apart from some of the heroes as you saw. So not much for me to do there. Much to do some cleanup. And there you go, better description of the characters. I didn't really give them the best description when I was showing them. So you got Gandalf and Frodo and Bilbo, obviously. Then it's Danes, the dwarf one, and then the humans, basically Bard. Then you got Goblin Chieftain, Bjorn, Thorin, Elf King, Bolg, and then the Goblin Shaman. So the Elf King's going to be Thranduil in the Hobbit book. He's just called the Elf King, I believe. I don't think his name was given. So as I said, it's only really that I'm missing, and you can pick those up anyway. And whether I need them, I've got my own terrain in terms of hills and things, but maybe for completeness, I suppose. You've also got these really, I don't know whether they came in it or not, where you get something different. No, I think they did. Looking at the picture, you get these really diddy dice. I think they might be 8mm dice or something like that. Really, I quite like small dice for some reason. Very cool. But it's, I'm not going to go through the rules in depth, but it uses the Warmaster system, which uses that command system that people that play Black Powder will be familiar with, because it carries a lot of that over. So obviously it's a Rick Priestley game. I do seem to be drawn to games that Rick Priestley, Jervis Johnson, Alessio Cavatore designed. I think I mentioned that before in videos, and I don't know what it is. It's just, they weren't. They're not all of them were the main rules writers when I first started gaming. Well, Alessio wasn't there, but Rick and Jervis were, I suppose. So maybe it is. Maybe it's what I started with, but I just seem to have an affinity with their kind of ethos for games. Quite relaxed and laid back, but get lots of models on the table and have friends with your mates. That's definitely my ethos for gaming, and it seems to come across in a lot of their games. You can see some of the painted miniatures here. Game sequence and stuff. As I said, I'm not going to go through all the rules, but you get the idea. So it's a Black Powder-esque game for people who aren't familiar with it. For people who know Warmaster, it's Warmaster. It's mass ranked, big battle designed game, and it's set in Middle Earth. So if you a lot of people who are not really into sort of modern day Games Workshop, Age of Sigmar kind of gaming, but do play, are interested in fantasy gaming, may still be interested in this as a game. Although I suppose the biggest problem is getting hold of it. Even these, you just can't find these on eBay, so it makes it very hard to kind of build a kind of secondary community for it. There is a good secondary community for Warmaster, and the Warmaster revised rules that are community led are all, you can get a hold of the PDFs online and things very, very easily. I'm not normally one for advertising people go and find PDFs for things, but I suppose for out of print stuff, I don't really have any moral problem with it. But I couldn't even find a version of this, so it's not the kind of thing that's easy to say let's get into it and play it, really. So I think the plan's going to be for myself and at least Dan, who's my co-host on Out of the Frying Pan, because we both love Middle Earth stuff, is just to paint our sets. He doesn't have all of the heroes, but we only really need one of each of the sets of heroes, I believe. He doesn't have all the heroes, but if we paint a doubled up set, we can get together and play the Battle of 5 Armies. So that'll be the goal number one. And since I knew of this' existence back in 2005, I didn't get hold of it back then, but I've always wanted it. I'm so chuffed to have it. But it's going to be a bit of a slow burn project. I use it as a bit of a palette cleanser. I've got so much on. Those of you who follow the channel will know that you've not seen a bolt action video in a little while, and you've not seen a Wars of the Roses 10mm video for a little while, and it's just hard with all the different things I've got going, but all those projects still exist. So adding another one isn't really the smartest thing to do right now. So this will be a bit of a slow project throughout the year, so you'll just see an occasional video maybe when I show you some of the painting I've done on it. And then at some point, once I've got it all done, I might do a little battle report. Just the normal size game, and then maybe I'll film it when Dan and I get together, maybe I won't. But then there's a secondary part of the plan, and that's expanding these, and that will be for something next year. And I've talked about this on the audio podcast Out of the Frying Pan, but won't have shared it with anyone on the channel. And essentially that's to use to cobblestone miniatures, fantasy 10mm range, to expand upon this and use it with the Battle of Helm's Deep. What I'll do is I'm going to get the miniatures up on the screen now and talk through a little bit more about how that might work. So here we are on the Cobblestone Castings page. Now obviously Cobblestone Castings, Mark Cobblestone's is a well-known sculptor, massive ranges of historical and fantasy things, loads and loads of stuff, but he does this wonderful 10mm fantasy range, which you can see on the screen now. And I've been aware of these for a while, and there are lots of 10mm manufacturers out there, including Pendragon, which I'm really, really fond of, who do fantasy miniatures, and I will look at lots of different manufacturers, but I feel like I wanted to expand upon my armies, and I wanted them to look and have the same feel and blend in well with the existing Games Workshop ones, and these are just fantastic. I'll click on this first, and it shows you the sort of what is essentially the Fellowship plus a couple of extras. You see your 4 hobbits there, and Gandalf and Aragorn and Legolas, etc, etc. And £4.50 for those 13 little models. Fantastic. I'll be picking those up no matter what. But if I click on something else, if I click on Horse Tribe Infantry here, and then hopefully you'll see, if you remember the little plastic strips I was showing you earlier, that the style is almost identical. I would think they are the same range, and I don't know whether that was intentional or what the reasons for that. I'm not even going to speculate, but they're fantastic. Now there is only 6 in a strip and a 7 for the Games Workshop ones, but as long as they fit on a 40 by 20mm base, then there's not going to be an issue there at all. So why expand? Well, obviously you could expand the armies that were in the Battle of 5 Armies, rather than using the official ones, which are really, really expensive on eBay. The other option would be to fight different battles and things. You can see here we got City Spearmen, so that would be your alternative Minas Tirith. I have actually seen someone with a 3D printed Weta Workshop style Minas Tirith armies. Obviously there some IP infringement going on there, but they do look very, very nice. But that wasn't my goal anyway. I was thinking about Helm's Deep. So let's provide some context, because you guys on the YouTube channel aren't aware of this. So going back over a couple of years ago now, with Out of the Frying Pan, Dan and I started planning a really, really big Helm's Deep game, playing Middle-earth strategy battle game. I've built Helm's Deep out of a toy and loads of XPS foam. I don't like the castle anymore that I've built. There's lots of stuff I want to change in it, but that's a slightly different subject. But anyway, it's there, and the armies I own the armies. They're not all built and painted yet. The Rohan, Defenders of Rohan, are all built and primed and ready to go, and then the Uruks are all kind of in boxes and packets ready to go. It's going to be a huge project. We did lots and lots of episodes on the podcast talking about the scenarios, and how we're going to look to, over the years, all the different versions of the scenario the Games Workshop have done, and how we were going to design our big gaming day. We're going to spend all day with some mates, a few beers, playing Helm's Deep. And it just got sidelined really by COVID. And then, as I knew it wasn't going to happen, the models didn't get painted, and I moved on to one of the other projects. So it's been one of those kind of put on pause projects. A long-term pause, not short-term pause like some of my current ones. But I still want to do it. It's my favourite scene in the films. It's my favourite scenes in the books. I know they differ in the way they're told, and I really, really want to do something with it. So this will be the second part of the project. So looking at this Battle of 5 Armies stuff and chatting with Dan about it, and I decided that maybe we should try a different approach, and to do Helm's Deep in 10mm. And I thought it would look fantastic. It will give me a chance to rebuild a castle, and collect the armies in 10mm and really get that massed ranked attack feel, which you don't quite get. Now the fight on the walls and things like that looks quite cool in 28mm, but in terms of the big siege, it looks much better in 10mm. So I thought, well, we'd adjust our plans. So rather than scrap our plans completely, we'd adjust them. So we'd have a bit of a gaming day, a friendly gaming day, where we invite a few friends along. I think we've got a couple of people already kind of interested in coming along, and then we'd have a big table, probably 6x4 will be needed at 10mm, but with the Helm's Deep on there and the 10mm armies battling it out, and then breakout tables, lots of little 4x4 tables for different parts of the battle. So in the War in Rohan, which is one of Games Workshop's more recent supplements for Middle-earth strategy battle game, it's got loads of narrative scenarios in it, including lots to do with Helm's Deep. There's one that's just fight big battle of Helm's Deep, but there's also these little sort of smaller sections, so like the fight on the Deeping Wall, for example. and the plan would be to have a few 4x4 tables set up of these little focused areas, and at certain points in the battle we pause the big game and then go and fight them out in 28mm using Middle-earth strategy battle game, and then the result of that will have some effect on the big game. So we just have this really long thing. So the same idea, still hang out and have a few beers and take away and have a really Middle-earth themed day, maybe weekend, but probably day somewhere. And the more Dan and I started talking about it, the more it seemed like a perfect mix of Middle-earth strategy battle game, just love of games, love of Middle-earth itself, and also get to use this Battle of Five Armies stuff even more. So let me know what you think, really. I'll be really interested in your thoughts on that. I've got a couple of people in mind who would like to maybe come and join in and be part of it, who I haven't invited formally yet, so I'll have a speak with those. I think they may even guess who they are if they're watching this. I think it'll be a really cool project. Now, this is going to be an extremely slow burn project. The plan is to play this game at some point in 2023. I just wanted to sort of do this unboxing, so to speak, and say publicly thank you to Gary for sending me it, really. But also talk a little bit ahead and give you an idea of what might come on the channel as well. So a little bit of 10mm fantasy, so it fits in really with the way the channel's been going, with a lot of smaller scale stuff and painting strips of infantry. So people who are interested in some fantasy gaming may also find it interesting as well. But we've got if I click on some of these, we've already looked at the spearmen there. Let's look at something else. Look at the half orc archers. So these would be your uruks essentially, and they're in strips of 2, so you can mount them up and get even more on there. So 24 of them for $5.75. It's not going to be cheap, but in terms of comparing it to £25 for a couple of stands, or maybe £50 for a couple of stands of cavalry for the official things, this will definitely be a really affordable way of doing it. There's more orcs there. Yeah, but hit me up in the comments with ideas of what you might do. Other manufacturers out there. The aesthetic is quite important to me, and this similar kind of style and the quality of sculpts. From it's subjective, obviously, but the quality of what you're seeing on the screen now. So we've got the horse archers there, the Rohan. That's, for me, that's pretty high quality 10mm sculpting, and that's what I'm after. I'd rather pay a bit more and get that kind of quality rather than anything else. I'm interested in nice standard of miniatures. That's always important to me. So you got more Wolf Riders there. I'm more likely to pick up some of these than I am to sort of pay over the odds for other stuff. And also 3D printers out there. There's some beautiful fantasy armies in 10mm. So Forest Dragon and Excellent Minis do these incredible Warhammer related stuff for Warmaster. They've recreated kind of 6th, 7th, 8th ed fantasy armies in Warmaster, and they look fantastic. How they get away with it in terms of IP, I don't know. Maybe it's just because Warmaster's not really a thing anymore, but in terms of the designs, I mean, you can get a steam tank that looks like a steam tank, if people know what a steam tank is. But this I haven't got a problem with. There's no issue here. These are just fantasy miniatures that have a similar aesthetic, and I think that's fine and cool. So again, if you're a 3D printer and you've got ideas that will help me, I'm interested in input on this project, because it's very much at the early stages. It's all kind of concept stage at the moment. So a bit of a strange video. A bit of a mix of, here, look at these toys I've been given and I thank you, and what I want to do with them in the future. But it will be a slow drip feed of bits, and the first stages will just be painting up what's in the contents of the box as normal, and later on we'll start planning in, and it will be another kind of long vlog on the channel, and at that point things will have settled down with the Epic Napoleonics and things a bit, and it will be a bit more of a kind of back to the round robin of an epic video, a bolt action video, War of the Roses video, and then maybe a video of this, and going on and on like that. That's the plan anyway. But thanks very much for watching. If you are new to the channel because of Epic Napoleonics, hopefully you've enjoyed my ramblings for this as well. If you're watching this because you're interested in 10mm fantasy, I'm really interested in your your thoughts on things. And if you do like Middle Earth and you haven't checked it out, go and check out our podcast. There's links all in the video notes as normal. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'll catch you soon.